While scrolling through videos, I accidentally clicked into a live stream. The host offered a service to play games for you. All you had to do was send a firework. When I saw this message, I was about to leave the live stream, but then I suddenly heard my fiancé's voice. This call was for my husband. Baby, I love you. Let's make up. At that moment, I actually felt quite pleased. After all, just a few days ago, we had an argument about the wedding. I never expected she would use such a method to make peace. I sat there eagerly waiting for what would come next. But no matter how long I waited, the phone call on the host's end was still ongoing. The familiar voice came through, but my phone never rang. And in the live stream's comment section, everyone was congratulating the couple on their happily ever after. But for me, I felt a cold chill run through my body. Without hesitation, I unilaterally called off the engagement. I have no idea how I made it through that day. I numbly sent apology messages to my friends and family. I didn't know how to explain it. Should I say Liu or Yu Yan is about to marry, but the groom is no longer me? Or should I just admit that I was cuckolded? Either way, I couldn't bring myself to respond. That evening, Liu or Yu Yan came home. We had been in a silent standoff for a week. Finally, it ended when she was the one to apologize first. If this were before, I would have eagerly rushed over, wagging my tail like a puppy. But now, I just gave her a faint glance. What's for dinner? I'm hungry. She didn't notice anything unusual about me. As usual, she gave me orders without a second thought. She treated me like a free maid. I didn't do it. I got up and went into the bedroom. She frowned. She walked over quickly and knocked on the door. Shen Yan's, what's your problem? I admit I wasn't ready for marriage yet. I'm not prepared to be a good husband. But you have to give me a chance to take it slow. We've argued about this so many times. I've had a long day at work. I'm exhausted. Can't you understand me a little? You secretly set the wedding date with my parents and notified our friends. I haven't even gotten to hold that against you, and yet you're throwing a tantrum first. I really wanted to rush out and ask her, have you not thought this through? Or do you simply not want to marry me? But I controlled myself. The answer was already clear. By the way, Shen Yuli is back. He's arranged a major event. He specifically asked me to tell you, and hopes you can go. I'll send the time and place to your phone later. Let's both stay calm for now. After all, marriage is not something to be rushed into. I have work to take care of. I'll leave now. Get some rest early. She finished speaking to herself, her voice growing softer. Only when I heard the sound of the door closing did the tension in my body finally relax. But what followed was bitterness. In the afternoon, I even thought to myself, if only she would call me and ask why I did this. Then I could choose to forgive her, and we could start over. But she didn't. Instead, she blamed me for being immature. A tear fell from the corner of my eye, which I quickly wiped away. Liu, are you Yan? This time, we're really done. That night, I tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep. My phone vibrated. I looked at it. It was an update from the only ID I still followed. I felt a strange sense of relief. When I turned back, you were always there. The picture attached was of a bar. Liu, are you Yan seemed drunk. Her cheeks flushed, looking at the camera and giving a peace sign. Underneath, there was a flood of congratulatory comments. I glanced over it. Most of them were from our college friends. Kiss, after all these years, you two met again. Is this fate or just coincidence? Does it even need to be said? Our Yuyan hasn't married all these years. And the moment Yuli returns, they meet up. Don't you understand what's going on? Why didn't he contact you or me? But he reached out to Ru Yan? I closed the screen, adhering to the idea that out of sight, out of mind, as if that would make it easier for me. I curled up, drifting into a half-sleep. In my dreams, it was always Liu Ruyan's figure. We were high school classmates. In the second year of high school, when they split the science and arts classes, she came to my class. I still remember the scene from that day, the first time I saw her. The sun shone on her. She held her books, her steps light as she walked toward me. Her ponytail swayed behind her, swaying its way into my heart. "Classmate, do you have a seat? Can I sit here?" I hurriedly lowered my gaze, too nervous to meet her eyes. I nodded and moved to the side. Her voice was very pleasant to hear. Perhaps sensing my nervousness, she let out a soft laugh, took two big white rabbit candies from her pocket, and handed them to me. "My name is Liu Ruyan. From now on, we'll be desk mates. Please take care of me." I nervously took one of the candies. My hand accidentally brushed against her palm. A strange feeling ran through me. She was good at Chinese, once one of the top students in the liberal arts class, and I was the star of the science class. The perfect contrast to her. She was competitive, always striving to be the best. I was no different, although I had a strange feeling about her. Right then, it was all about studies. The first monthly exam results came out. She had dropped in score because of her math. She ranked 5th. When she was in the liberal arts class, the worst she ever ranked was 3rd. She couldn't accept it, and buried herself in her studies even more. I was solving physics problems. She fidgeted for a while. Her expression seemed uncomfortable. "Hey, could you explain a few problems to me?" I turned to meet her gaze. She looked so cute. I couldn't help but smile softly. She puffed up her cheeks and glared at me. "If you don't want to, then forget it." I reached out to take the problem set, and I taught her using the simplest methods I knew. She was very smart. She almost grasped everything in an instant. "How about this? From now on, we'll help each other. I'll teach you Chinese, and you can teach me math. Together, we'll shine." I quietly agreed. From that day on, our relationship grew much closer. With each other's help, our grades steadily improved. In the third monthly exam, her math score increased by over 20 points. Her rank also improved significantly. She was so happy, her smile wide. She excitedly hugged my shoulder. "Wow, you're really amazing." I knew she only saw me as a classmate, but I couldn't control my feelings. The heart of a young person is intense and hard to hide. But I still suppressed my feelings, staying by her side year after year. As a friend, we were inseparable. We were what people called the golden couple. Even the teachers often teased us about it. Every time this happened, she would smile faintly. We both applied to the same university. At our high school graduation party, we stayed out very late. When we turned 18, we were allowed to secretly fall in love. Under the influence of alcohol, I confessed my feelings to her. To my surprise, she froze for a moment. Then, as if remembering something, she took a step back. She pretended to be disgusted. "Have you had too much to drink? You're starting to ramble. You're making me sick. Go home." I opened my mouth and let out a bitter smile. I just nodded in agreement. I drank too much. I covered my eyes, not wanting anyone to see the redness around my eyes. This was the end of my secret love. It ended. During the break, she didn't contact me. I didn't bother her either. Soon, it was time to report to college. As I was walking around, I spotted her. She had gotten even more beautiful. It seemed she had grown quite a bit taller too. She seemed to sense me and turned around. From a distance, she waved at me. She jogged over. "Chen Yans, you're too much, aren't you? Are we still friends or not? During the break, you didn't even say a word to me." Her tone was familiar. She hadn't distanced herself from me because of that little incident. I should have been happy about that. But somehow, I just couldn't feel joy. There was a guy standing next to her, wearing a red armband. He seemed to be a volunteer. We walked in together. She chattered away with the guy all the way. I quietly listened from the side. Since we were in different classes, we hardly saw each other anymore. We could only run into each other during large lectures. But she didn't know that I was always watching her from the shadows. I watched her and that guy grow closer and closer. Eventually, they became a couple. Shen Yans, let me introduce you. This is my boyfriend, Shen Yuli. That day finally arrived. They held hands. Liu Yan's face was full of happiness. She looked like a little girl I had never seen before. I felt like a rat hiding in the shadows, peeking at their happiness. In the first semester of junior year, I had just finished an experiment and was heading back to the dorm. Liu Yan rarely called me. But when I picked up, it wasn't her on the other end. It was the restaurant owner. He said she had drunk too much. He asked me to come pick her up. When I arrived, she was unconscious, sprawled across the table. I asked for a long time, until I finally pieced together the story from her mumbled words. Shen Yuli had cheated. He had gone abroad with his girlfriend. I was at a loss for words, not knowing how to comfort her. I could only silently stay by her side as she vented. It was already very late. The dorms had closed for the night, but I got her a room. I quickened my steps under the receptionist's teasing gaze. It was a struggle to get her onto the bed, but she kept insisting on taking a shower. From there, things quickly spiraled out of control. When she woke up, the atmosphere was incredibly awkward. I wanted to tell her not to worry about it. Chen Yans, let's be together. You've liked me all along, right? I was so overjoyed, I lost my head. This conversation went on for 5 or 6 years, so long that I almost forgot about the person I had been. All these years, I lost myself for Liu Yan. I even gave up my own interests. I threw myself entirely into her. I willingly became the man behind her. Every time I brought up marriage, she would change the subject. I used to think she just hadn't had enough fun yet. But now I realize she was never planning to settle down. I suddenly opened my eyes wide. The phone by my side was ringing nonstop. I gasped for air, sweat beading on my forehead. Everything about me screamed how much I cared about this relationship. Hello, Chen Yans? Why haven't you been picking up? What are you doing? I didn't answer her question. I adjusted my breathing and calmly asked, what's going on? She didn't notice anything unusual in my voice. She continued talking to herself. 10 o'clock. I'll see you then. She hung up the phone. I took a deep breath. Simple, just took a shower and tittied up a bit. I opened the wardrobe. Inside, it was packed with Liu Yan's clothes. I only had a small space, not even a third of it. I pulled out a set of sportswear from the corner. I pushed myself to meet her. When I entered, the room quieted down. Dozens of eyes were all on me. Yans, you're here. Shen Yuli stood up and pulled me in. I sat next to him and Liu Yan. They were sitting extremely close, their posture intimate. Everyone's expressions varied. They all knew that Liu Yan and I were in a relationship. Even though they were all focused on singing and dancing, their eyes kept glancing over at us. Liu Yan was called away. She whispered something to Shen Yuli and walked off. His gaze followed her the entire time. I overheard. I heard you and Yan are together now. Shen Yuli spoke first. I didn't say anything. He didn't either. He leaned in close to my ear. Thanks for looking out for her all these years. I'm back now. You can step aside now. I turned to face him, and we locked eyes. A silent competition between us. We were at odds. And in his eyes, I saw a sense of determination. Come on, let's play some games. Liu Yan came over and pulled Shen Yuli away. He raised an eyebrow and looked at me. Together, I followed him over. We started playing a game of truth or dare with dice. I had the worst luck. I kept losing. The questions got more and more tricky. If I didn't want to answer, I would just take a drink. Liu Ruyan frowned. But she didn't say anything. It was my turn with Shen Yuli. A man-to-man competition. He chose truth. Is there a girl you like in the room? He tilted his head, staring straight at Liu Ruyan. Yes, the crowd erupted in teasing. I clapped along. Liu Ruyan blushed. She shot him a playful glance. Then she lost. She was brave. She chose dare. She drew the dare to kiss the opposite sex player with the number for card for 30 seconds. She hesitated. Then she slowly walked up to Shen Yuli. She bent down and gently pressed her lips to his. Laughter and teasing filled the room. Oh wow! Did Liu Ruyan get what she wanted, or was she doing this on purpose? Isn't this cheating? We won't call it out though. I flipped over my card. It was a for me. Taking advantage of the moment when no one was paying attention, I pushed myself out. The wind outside was cool. The alcohol had cleared my mind a little. Are you okay? A voice came from behind me. It was familiar, but I couldn't remember the name. She noticed my discomfort. She introduced herself voluntarily. I'm Fang Ruhan. We're in the same major, remember? I smiled apologetically. She didn't take offense. We chatted casually. Aren't you and Liu Ruyan together? How is she still with him? We're about to break up. She's going to have a new boyfriend. I'm happy for her. She didn't respond. Instead, she kept glancing at me. Until I caught her in the act. Her face turned bright red. She was at a loss for words. I felt a wave of suspicion, but I didn't call her out. I discreetly put some space between us. I glanced at the time. It was almost time to go, but Fang Ruhan still showed no signs of leaving. Sorry, I'm going to head back now. I called a car. Through the car window, I looked at the familiar sights outside. Everything felt so familiar. This KTV was near our university. I used to come here all the time. I heard it belonged to Shen Yuli. The meaning was obvious. The next morning, Liu Ruyan came back. I heard movement in the kitchen. I tiptoed downstairs. She was wearing an apron, busy in the kitchen. When she saw me come down, her smile didn't fade. You're so happy. Did you two make up? Got up already? Come on, have some breakfast. She pushed me to sit down. On the table was a plate full of sandwiches. It was a typical foreign-style breakfast. It seemed like she wanted me to taste test it for Shen Yuli. Eat up. It's fine, just try it. If you don't like it, I'll improve it next time. I didn't make a move for a long time. Her expectant gaze gradually turned impatient. I knew what she meant. I know you're upset about what happened yesterday. You left before it was even over. You're embarrassing me in front of everyone. I'm just good friends with Yuli. I have to accept the consequences. Besides, I already know I was wrong. I didn't go to work this morning, came here first to make you breakfast. There was a love bite on her collarbone. It made my eyes ache. Liu Ruyan, I'm allergic to eggs. As soon as I spoke, her words came to an abrupt stop. All I could hear was the sound of our hearts beating. I didn't want to argue with her. The moment I entered the room, she still hadn't recovered. The person holding the number for card last night was me. Since that day, I never saw her again. Maybe it's for the best. These past few days, I've been busy moving. Shen Yuli updated in the afternoon. He was setting up the wedding room. In the lower right corner, I could see Liu Ruyan's left hand. I finished packing my things. I only had one suitcase. It was truly laughable. We had lived together for so many years, but so little of it belonged to me. Yans, I'm getting married at the end of the month. Come with Liu Ruyan. I'm not gossiping, but I've changed several places already. How come you guys still haven't made an announcement? Why? Do you want to asterisk? Just dating, not getting married? It seemed like he didn't believe what I had said last time. After all, everyone close to me knows how much I like Liu Ruyan. I gave a vague reply. After hesitating for a while, I still sent her a message. Wang Heoxuan is getting married. He asked me to let you know. She replied quickly. A voice message came through in just a few seconds. I opened it. Her voice, full of anger, came through. 10 yens. I told you I don't want to get married. What do you want me to do about it? Are you forcing me in front of everyone? I'm telling you, you can forget about it. If you want to go, then go. Don't drag me into it. Yuli's family is here. I've been spending time with my uncle and aunt these past few days. Don't contact me again. I sent the message and she immediately blocked me. The day before the wedding, our group of friends gathered for a party to celebrate Wang Heoxuan's wedding. Everyone present had witnessed our journey in love. We were all old friends. When are you going to get married? Aren't you in a hurry? I smiled helplessly. And with a serious expression, I meant what I said last time. You are Yu Yan and I won't get married. We're breaking up. It's my fault. They finally believed me. They surrounded me asking all sorts of questions. I dodged them all. Such an embarrassing thing. How could I bring myself to talk about it? We drank until late at night. We walked out, arms around each other. I was still somewhat sober. When I called a cab, I saw Yu Yan under a big tree. Wang Heoxuan followed my gaze. He was my closest friend. And he felt sorry for me. The others staggered over. I was afraid it might cause trouble, but I couldn't stop them. Yu Yan, you and Yuli are getting older. You should get married soon. We're all anxious to have grandchildren. Yu Yan glanced at Yuli. Auntie, don't worry. I stood there, my feet frozen, unable to move. Wang Heoxuan slapped Shen Yuli's back. But his eyes were still on Yu Yan. Sis-in-law, what are you doing here? Zayu said you were working overtime. Working overtime in the affair department, huh? He was blunt. Shen Yuli's parents exchanged glances. They took it as a drunk person just causing a scene. They tried to pull him away. But the guy wasn't easy to deal with. There was no way he would let her off easily. Sis-in-law, you don't recognize me anymore? Why aren't you saying anything? Who are all these people? You didn't even introduce us. Yu Yan noticed me behind her. Her expression looked flustered. She instinctively ran over to grab my arm. Wait! Let me explain. She looked at Shen Yuli's mom. I pressed my finger to her lips. I interrupted her before she could say anything more. It's okay. I don't mind. She looked confused, as if she felt something had changed in me, but couldn't quite figure it out. Her hands instinctively tightened on my arm. Her heart was in turmoil. Surprisingly, she pulled me over to introduce me to Shen Yuli's parents. It was the first time she publicly acknowledged me. Uncle, auntie. This is my fiancé, Chen Yan's. We're getting married soon. We'll definitely invite you both when it happens. The well-groomed woman in front of me didn't seem to understand, but she kept a pleasant demeanor. With a smile, she extended her hand. Oh, I got it wrong. I'm getting old. I'm bound to be confused sometimes. Yans, right? You really are quite the handsome guy. Such a perfect match. You two are made for each other. I didn't feel any strong emotional reaction. I pulled my hand away and signaled for a taxi to come. I shoved Wang Heoxuan and the others inside. Aili said to Yu Yan, "You're busy. I'll head back first." It was already late at night when she came back. She climbed into bed, a chill surrounding her. She hugged me from behind. Baby, I missed you so much. Why are you sleeping so early today? You're usually waiting for me, aren't you? I used to wait for her to come home before I went to sleep. Over time, it became a habit. I pretended to be asleep and didn't respond. She muttered to herself for a while and then started softly snoring. I opened my eyes. Yu Yan, I'm not waiting for you anymore. At 7 a.m., my alarm went off. The spot next to me had been cold for some time. It seemed like she had gotten up a while ago. I got dressed, clutched the keys in my hand. As soon as I got downstairs, Liu Yuyan wrapped her arms around me. Hey! I need to talk to you about something. Shen Yuli's mom's health is poor. She came here this time for a checkup. Her biggest wish is to see her son get married. Look, our wedding venue is already set up. Could we possibly let her use it? I'm pretending this is my wedding, so Shen Yuli's mom can relax before her surgery. Sure. You decide. I don't mind. I didn't hesitate. Now it was her turn to be stunned. She had already planned how to convince me, but she didn't expect me to agree so quickly. Do you really agree? She asked again, uncertain. I nodded. Really? Is it all for the sake of family? I understand. Anyway, we won't be using it. I didn't say that out loud. If anyone else had said it, I would have believed them. But Shen Yuli's mom that day, I saw her clearly. Her complexion was rosy. She didn't look like a dying person at all. I knew you were the kindest. Don't worry. She and I are just pretending. It wasn't hard to do this. I've already thought it through. She's been leaving early and coming back late lately. Busy with wedding preparations. I started setting up blind dates. By chance, I ran into Fang Ruhan. Surprised, right? Actually, I didn't want to come at first, but my mom mentioned your name. That piqued my interest, and to my surprise, it really was you. She was a chatterbox. She couldn't stop talking even while eating. I didn't find it annoying this time. We walked around for a long time. I took her downstairs. Just before leaving, she called out to me, Chen Yans, you need a marriage partner, and I need someone to please my parents. Why don't we just settle for each other? I don't mind. Anyway, it's just a contract, right? I think I'll be happier living with you than with a stranger. Think about it. You can contact me anytime. She bounced into the building. I thought carefully. What she said did make sense. When you have time, let's talk. She was a woman of action. I printed out the agreement for her to look at. She just glanced at it and quickly signed her name. Hubby, let's have a pleasant cooperation. She reached out her hand. I ignored the strange feeling in my heart and shook her hand. Liu Yuyan and Shen Yuli planned their wedding with great fanfare. They said it was fake, but who would believe that? However, it had nothing to do with me. Fang Ruhan and I had already gotten our marriage certificate. We hadn't quite adjusted to each other's new identities yet. I held her hand and took her to attend the wedding. When Liu Yuyan saw me, she looked a little displeased. I spoke up first. Congratulations! I brought my wife to congratulate you. Wishing you both many children and a lifetime of happiness. May you have a harmonious marriage. Su Zihan took out the wedding gift from her bag and placed it on the table. I didn't say anything during the entire process. I just looked at her gently. Wait, your wife? Wuzi, what do you mean by that? Liu Yuyan noticed my choice of words. I raised my hand and let her clearly see our matching wedding rings. My tone was gentle. Even I didn't realize how sweet my gaze must have looked at that moment. Oh, by the way, let me reintroduce her to you. This is my wife, Fang Ruhan. We got married. As soon as I finished speaking, the entire front hall went silent. Everyone glanced at each other, not understanding what was going on. Shen Yuli was the first to react. He smiled and picked up the wedding gift that had been placed on the table. Well then, we must congratulate you even more. You really kept this a secret so well. That's not very loyal of you. Let's drink a few more tonight. I tried to decline, but they forcibly placed a drink in my hand. Liu Yuyan stared at me, her mouth slightly agape. I couldn't be bothered to care about her reaction. I sat down next to Fang Ruhan. I kept my composure. I chatted with the classmates about everything under the sun. Wang Heoxuan pulled me into a corner. Be honest with me. What's going on between you and her? You two don't seem like the type to just casually get married. How could you just go ahead and get a marriage certificate? You didn't even mention it the last time we met. His questions were a bit too much. I turned around to take a glance, but my eyes met Fang Ruhan's. She was wearing a beaming smile. Her right eyebrow lifted slightly. For a moment, I was entranced by her. She was right. And deep down, our cooperation would be very interesting. Hey, what are you looking at? I'm talking to you. I'll explain it to you later. This was an unexpected situation. It was quite surprising. The ceremony began. Liu Yuyan walked down the aisle in her wedding dress. But her expression was melancholic. She would occasionally tilt her head, searching for something. It was the wedding I had longed for so much. I had dreamed countless times of Liu Yuyan in a wedding dress marrying me. But when the day actually arrived, I stood among my many friends, and I just thought it looked beautiful. But beyond that, there was nothing else. The beautiful bride. For better or for worse, will you take this man in front of you to walk together and share the rest of your life? She hesitated, and in the audience, she caught sight of me. I gave her a small round of applause. Suddenly, she took off the veil from her head. She held it in her hand, trembling. I'm sorry. I need to be honest with everyone. My wedding with Mr. Shen Yuli is fake. I thought it over. I can't go against my principles. So everyone, I'm sorry. Yao Tianji came closer. I'm sorry. She walked toward me. Her eyes swept over the space between me and Fang Ruhan. She smiled knowingly. Yans, I know you're angry with me. I won't marry him now. Please stop being mad. Let's go. Let's go home. You tell me. Why do we have to involve others in our issues? People like her, young girls, their reputations are important. She naturally grabbed my arm and tried to pull me along. Then she turned to Fang Ruhan and said, sorry, he doesn't know how to behave. Thank you for helping him today. And thank you for helping me see myself clearly. You're free to do as you wish. My husband and I are leaving now. She tugged at me again, but I stood still. She assumed I was still throwing a tantrum. All right, I was wrong. When we get back, we'll discuss the wedding venue and date. You can do whatever you want. I shook my head and smiled bitterly. Why is it that people always realize how to cherish something only after they've lost it? Are you Yan? I admit, I really did want to marry you once, and I truly loved you with all my heart. But later, I realized you were right. I've always been the one pushing you forward. I pushed you to marry me. I never asked for your opinion. Last time, you said you hadn't made up your mind. Now I'm telling you, I've made up my mind. I won't pressure you anymore. My wife and I have a very good relationship. I came here today too. I hope you can too. My tone was indifferent, with not a hint of emotion. She clearly didn't believe me. She stubbornly kept pulling me, until Fang Ruhan took the marriage certificate out of her bag. I guess Lian might not believe me, so I had a backup plan. I specifically asked her to bring it with her. I opened the page with the photo and showed it to her. My name was clearly written there, and there was an official seal. It was genuine, no faking it. Man Yi, you really need to stop joking. Tell me, why go through all this trouble just to deceive me? Who would believe that you don't love me anymore? After all these years of love, how can you just let go like that? She's still just a kid. You're being unfair to her. I rubbed my temples in frustration. Why didn't I realize how self-centered Liu Yuyan is before? Even with this important evidence right in front of her, she refuses to believe it. Is she pretending, or has she really caught my weakness? Does she think Chen Yan's is so easy to deceive? Liu Yuyan, I'm going to say it one last time. Fang Ruhan and I are already married. She is my wife now. We just haven't had the wedding yet. All right. I've delivered my blessings for today. We'll leave now. Wishing you both a happy marriage. I took Fang Ruhan and walked away from her. She instinctively tried to grab my arm, but I dodged it. She chased after me. She didn't care about Shen Yuli and the other guests. She was someone who cared most about her reputation, but today, her actions were completely out of character. Fang Ruhan and I got into the car and drove off. She was chasing us from behind. Are you sure you're okay leaving her alone? I didn't look back. Once I've decided to let go, I can't allow myself to care anymore. She took me to her place. I still couldn't adjust to the change in our identities. She, on the other hand, adapted quickly. Every time she came back, she would call me husband. Liu Yan's calls and messages kept coming in. I just glanced at them, clicked delete, and didn't reply. Yans, where have you gone? Why is all your stuff gone? Are you really with Fang Ruhan? Why? You've always loved me. Why did things change so suddenly? Talk to me, please. Can you meet me one more time? Please, let me explain. Her career kept advancing, and she grew more and more quiet. At home, she barely spoke. It was rare to see her so talkative. I was flipping through job listings online, scheduling a few interviews. Luckily, my professional knowledge hadn't been entirely forgotten. I hadn't let it all slip away. Soon, I found a relatively good company. The atmosphere was relaxed. I really liked it. I had spent many years as a stay-at-home husband. I thought it might be hard to accept. But to my surprise, I adapted quite well. At lunch, my colleagues and I went out to eat. As soon as I sat down, I spotted Liu Yan from a distance. She seemed to be negotiating a contract. The moment she saw me, she walked over quickly. President Liu, you're eating here too? She was well known. And my company was also a Chinese enterprise. So I wasn't surprised that my colleagues recognized her. Yes, though her words were casual. She kept looking at me. My colleague was sharp. His eyes kept darting between us. Long time no see. Are you back to work? Are you enjoying your job? Is it easy? I didn't raise my head. I kept my focus on the food in my bowl. It's great. She seemed like she wanted to say more, but I stood up and interrupted. I'm done eating. I'll be leaving now. She followed me out. I tried my best to ignore the curious glances from my colleagues behind me. I spoke before she could. Liu Yan, I think I made myself clear last time. There's nothing between us anymore. The way you're acting now is causing me trouble. My life and my family are great now. I'm really happy. I used to think my life had no direction without you. But I realized I was wrong. No one in this world is indispensable. Are you, Yan? Do you understand? She looked regretful. I could truly understand how she felt right now. It was like she had a candy. She didn't like the candy, so she kept giving it away to others. It was because she knew no one would want it. But unexpectedly, one day, this candy became desirable. It started seeking a new owner on its own. Only after it no longer belonged to her did she realize how sweet it was. Her eyes reddened. If this had been before, I would have been heartbroken, running to comfort her. But today, I just sighed. I looked visibly frustrated. Are you, Yan? Look ahead. Chenyuli is a great match for you. There's nothing standing in the way between you two now. You can be together without worrying anymore. I truly wish you both happiness. I returned to my desk. The colleague I had lunch with came over to me. He was eyeing me closely. I knew exactly what he was thinking. It's just as you guessed, but we don't have anything between us now. He awkwardly smiled. He kept asking me questions, but I remained tight-lipped. Really, you have no sense of boundaries. When I got home in the evening, Fang Ruhan had made dinner. She was bringing the food to the table. She wore an apron and glanced at me as she took a break. "You're back, just in time to wash up and eat." The sunset fell on her. I could see the meaning of a virtuous wife and mother in her. I unknowingly stared at her. The table was full of my favorite foods. I thought she must have asked Wang Heaksuan about it, but I didn't give it much thought. I was sent by the company to negotiate a contract with a partner. Unfortunately, it was with Liu Ruyan's company. The conference room was full. She didn't try to hide it at all. She just stared straight at me. The workaholic had a strange obsession with the department manager. Throughout the entire meeting, she didn't blink once while looking at him. By the afternoon, rumors were already spreading like wildfire. Shen Yuli contacted me and said he wanted to talk. I refused. What would there be to talk about with a rival? He was relentless once he set his mind on something. He blocked me twice downstairs at the company. We finally went to a corner, where he decided to resolve things quickly. "Chen Yan's, how come you're still haunting me? Are you Yan used to like me? You voluntarily stepped aside, so she should be happy. But I've noticed she's been down these days. What did you do to her? Why can't she stop thinking about you? I'm telling you, the man who should be by her side is me. Don't think that because you've been together for a few years, you can just replace me. You better send her a message, telling her you don't like her anymore. Make her give up on you, and let her come back to me." I looked at him as he arrogantly ordered me around. I couldn't help but laugh. "Shen Yuli, your situation has nothing to do with me. I don't want to listen, and I'm not interested in hearing it. I've already told you, I don't have any feelings for her anymore. As for whether she still loves you, that's your problem." I turned to leave. He pushed me and ended up falling to the ground. It was just around rush hour, with people coming and going. He made quite a scene. A lot of people turned to look at him. "How could you push me? I really came here with good intentions to persuade you to make up with Ru Yan." He paused. "Ru Yan and I aren't what you think. We're just friends. If you're upset because of me and her, I can guarantee that I'll stay out of your sight from now on. She really loves you. Please forgive her. At most, we're just exes. She agreed to have the wedding because of my mom. I'm clearing everything up now. You two can get married now." His acting skills were on point. I was still suspicious about how sincere he really was. But then I heard Liu Ruyan's voice from behind. "Are you putting on a show for her? Chen Yan's, why are you venting your anger on me? Yuli has been injured. You know that. How could you be so cruel?" She nervously helped Shen Yuli up and fussed over him, asking if he was all right. She always blamed me without considering the full picture. She never believed anything I said, only trusting her own eyes. "Are you Yan? Don't blame Yan's. I was always the extra one in this. If I hadn't come back, things wouldn't have gotten so complicated. What a pure and innocent flower." I coldly watched them show affection in front of me, and I just turned away. "Apologize to Yuli. You've crossed the line. We've already discussed the wedding, didn't we? And you agreed. Now, behind my back, you're secretly doing this? Is this fun for you? Actually, it's pretty pointless." I took the voice recorder out of my pocket. I was glad I had this habit. I always turn on the recorder during negotiations. That's why I carried it with me. I had kept an eye on things earlier. He had been saying one thing to my face and another behind my back, and I caught it. Liu Ruyan pulled away from him. "Shen Yuli, I didn't expect you to have changed so much. I told you we could never go back. I've come to understand my feelings. Now I love Chen Yan's. If I gave you the wrong impression, I apologize. But you shouldn't have lied to me." Chen Yuli reached out to her, trying to explain, but she shoved him away. She had always been heartless. I had experienced that countless times. "Go away. Don't come around us again. Shen Yuli turned around repeatedly as he left. Liu Ruyin didn't have any hesitation. She was desperate to explain herself to me. Yans, I'm sorry. What he said wasn't something I asked him to do. I got too emotional earlier. His leg was injured because of me. I acted impulsively. That's why I blamed you. I pointed in the direction where Shen Yuli had walked off. He's in a bad mood. He hasn't been well lately. Does he look like he's limping? She froze right there. She realized Shen Yuli had lied to her. She wanted to go after him and talk things through. I blocked her path. This is the last time I'm telling you. Are you Yan? I'm married. It's not because I'm angry with you. It's because the right time came. She's wonderful. She's been so good to me. She made me feel like I'm truly home. I believe we will be happy together forever. I know it was you behind the scenes, communicating with our boss. You wanted me to go negotiate the deal. I hope you don't do that anymore. Don't use your position to interfere in personal matters. We truly can't go back to what we were. She cried, and my heart broke seeing her in so much pain. I got in the car and went home. After spending time with Fang Ruhan, I realized she wasn't exactly as I had imagined her. She's gentle yet decisive. I started to slowly fall for her. The next morning, I watched her busy in the kitchen, and for some reason, I blurted out, "Wife, we're turning this pretend marriage into something real. We should have a wedding. No contracts, no agreements, just because I love you." She excitedly put down the spatula. "Say it again." I said it several times. Tears streamed down her face. "Shen Yans, I finally heard you say it. I'm so glad I didn't give up." I sent messages to my friends and family, inviting them to attend on the wedding day. I took her to try on wedding dresses. She looked unbelievably beautiful. On the wedding day, a lot of people showed up. Some of them were just there to watch the spectacle. Uncle Fang placed her hand in mine. "Take good care of her." The wedding was halfway through when Liu Ruyan showed up uninvited. I ignored her. In my mind, as long as she didn't cause trouble, I could accept her being here. But I had forgotten her personality. She took off her coat, revealing the wedding dress underneath. She knelt on one knee. "Chen Yans, will you marry me? I want to be your bride. If you feel even the slightest hesitation, then please take my bouquet. I'll handle everything after this. All you need to do is continue loving me." The guests started whispering among themselves. Fang Ruhan's grip on my hand tightened. She was unsure of my response. I patted her hand, reassuring her with a gesture. I walked toward Liu Ruyan with a smile on my lips, but the words I said were ice cold. "I won't." "Liu Ruyan, can you stop making a scene? Today is the most important day for me and my wife. Whatever you've done in the past, I could forgive you. But today, no, I can't. Please leave." I turned back and kissed Fang Ruhan under the officiant's voice. The crowd cheered. From the corner of my eye, I saw Ruyan leaving. I closed my eyes, enjoying the moment. Life after marriage with Fang Ruhan has been blissful. She cuddled in my arms and said that her feelings for me weren't something that developed overnight. She thanked me for giving her the chance. "Wife, I should be the one thanking you for waiting for me all this time, always being there." In the middle of the night, Liu Ruyan called me. I didn't want to answer, but the call didn't stop. "Yans, I'm at the river where we used to go together. I'm waiting for you. I hope you'll come. If I don't see you in half an hour, then I'll jump in." I hadn't said anything yet, but Fang Ruhan sleepily grabbed the phone. "Do whatever you want. Hope you have some self-respect. He's a married man now. Don't disturb us while we're trying to make babies." She curled into my arms, and I held her as we both fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, Liu Ruyan's mother sent me a message. Liu Ruyan really jumped into the river. Fang Ruhan felt guilty. She thought it was her fault. I comforted her and went to the hospital. When Liu Ruyan saw me, her eyes brightened. She smiled weakly. I knew you still cared about me. I knew you wouldn't just ignore me. I'm here today to check on you for my wife. She was worried something might happen to you. Looks like you're doing alright now. Wishing you a speedy recovery. I had a brief chat with Liu Ruyan's father. His hair had turned gray, and his formal speech turned into a single sentence. The Liu family is unlucky. Fang Ruhan was pregnant, and I was going to be a father. I started going home on time every day, not letting her do any household chores. She had a smooth delivery, and the baby was healthy. He looked just like her. At the 100-day celebration, I received an anonymous red envelope. Congratulations! I didn't have to think about who it was from. There was a large amount of money inside. Chen Yuli had gone abroad, but it seemed like things weren't going well for him. He was facing obstacles everywhere. It was all thanks to Liu Ruyan's influence. The last time I heard about her, she had passed away. A car accident. Fang Ruhan and I took our child to pay our respects to her. Liu Ruyan. In the next life, let's not meet again. The end.